Good evening, and thank you for joining us on ERi-TV English news broadcast, presenting you the latest updates from around the world and the country. Live from our headquarters in Asmara is Heaven Johans. The following are the major headlines for tonight. Presidents Eritrea-Somalia and Abdel Fattah al-Sisi discuss on strengthening bilateral ties. President Eritrea-Somalia and President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud held talks. World's rivers face its driest year in 3 decades in 2023. And Germany's economy facing new recession. In our domestic news, President Eritrea-Somalia and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of the Arab Republic of Egypt held extensive discussions this afternoon, focusing on strengthening bilateral relations as well as regional and international issues of mutual interest. The two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to the absolute respect for the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of all countries in the region. They rejected any interference in the internal affairs of these nations under any pretext or justification. Additionally, they agreed to coordinate joint efforts to achieve regional stability, create a favorable environment for sustainable cooperation, and strengthen bilateral ties across various fields to meet the development and prosperity aspirations of their peoples. Furthermore, the two presidents decided to deepen and intensify political consultations between their countries on a wide range of regional and international issues, as well as geopolitical developments of common interest. To this end, they agreed to establish a political consultation committee at the foreign ministers level, which will meet periodically to enhance cooperation and coordination in areas of shared interest. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi expressed his gratitude to President Eritrea-Somalia for the warm hospitality extended to him and his delegation. Earlier today, at the invitation of President Eritrea-Somalia, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, along with his delegation, arrived in Asmara for an official visit. The delegation, which includes the Egyptian Minister of National Security, the Chief of the Presidential Cabinet, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, was warmly welcomed by President Eritrea-Somalia at the Asmara International Airport. At the Tripartite meeting, the leaders of Eritrea, Egypt and Somalia discussed on the situation in Somalia in terms of regional developments, the situation in the Sudan and its future prospect, as well as on the security of the countries bordering the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb. The three leaders also issued the following joint statement. 1. Upon the kind invitation extended by His Excellency President Eritrea-Somalia, President of the State of Eritrea, to His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, and to His Excellency President Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, the three presidents met today, October 10, 2024, in the Eritrean capital, Asmara. During this meeting, the presidents held extensive consultations on vital regional and international issues at the Tripartite Summit. 2. The three heads of state underlined the imperative of adhering to the basic principles and pillars of international law as the indispensable basis for regional stability and cooperation, especially unequivocal respect for the sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity of the countries of the region, confronting interference in the internal affairs of the countries of the region under any pretext or justification, coordinating joint efforts to achieve regional stability and creating a conducive climate for joint and sustainable development. 3. Agreed to develop and deepen cooperation and coordination between the three countries in order to enhance the capabilities of the Somali state institutions to confront various internal and external challenges and to enable the Somali National Federal Army to confront terrorism in all its forms, protect its land and sea borders, and maintain its territorial integrity. 4. In this context, the summit discussed in greater depth and reached a consensus on the following issues: the crisis in Sudan and its regional repercussions, the situation in Somalia in light of recent regional developments, security and cooperation issues between the littoral states of the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait in the context of its utmost importance as a vital maritime route, and modalities of diplomatic coordination and joint efforts between the three countries. 5. Welcomed the efforts made by the State of Eritrea and the Arab Republic of Egypt in supporting stability in brotherly state of Somalia and enhancing the capabilities of the federal government, and commended the offer of the Arab Republic of Egypt to contribute forces within the framework of peacekeeping efforts in Somalia. 6. Agreed to establish a joint tripartite committee of the foreign ministers of Eritrea, Egypt, and Somalia for strategic cooperation in all fields. President Isaias Afwerki and President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud held extensive talks on bilateral, regional, and international issues of common interest at State House yesterday evening. The two leaders underscored the imperative of further bolstering the bilateral cooperation of the two sisterly countries in the heavy tasks of the maintenance of the sovereignty, territorial integrity, independence, and unity of Somalia, which remains a prerequisite for its development against the backdrop of enormous challenge in the past 2 decades. In this context, the two leaders noted that building a strong and developed nation is invariably predicated on robust and sovereign institutions, including a viable defense and security architecture. Eritrea's modest contribution in the training of the Somali National Army is aligned with these policy objectives, and the two sides agreed to expand their cooperation in other relevant areas to address other challenges of nation building. Dear viewers, we'll be back with international news after the short break. Welcome back. World Meteorological Organization says water cycles are becoming more erratic due to climate change, as it calls for increased monitoring. According to the State of Global Water Resources report published by the World Meteorological Organization, there was severe stress on global water supplies, with 5 consecutive years of below normal river flows and reservoir inflows. Prolonged droughts cut river flows in large parts of the North, Central, and South America, with the Mississippi and Amazon river basins reporting record low water levels in 2023, said the report. The Ganges and Mekong river basins also experienced below-average conditions, the report added. Overall, 50% of global catchment areas showed abnormal conditions, with most being in deficit and reducing water availability for agriculture and industry. The organization's Secretary General warned that water cycles were becoming more erratic due to climate change and called for increased hydrological monitoring to track and respond to the changes. The weather agency, citing figures from UN Water, says some 3.6 billion people face inadequate access to water for at least 1 month a year, and that figure is expected to rise to 5 billion by 2050. On our last news, Germany's economy ministry will downgrade its already meager growth forecast for a second year in a row. This is according to reports. Hammered by soaring energy costs after cutting itself off from Russian gas, Germany was the only major developed economy to shrink last year. Germany's economy ministry plans to downgrade its 2024 forecast from a growth rate of 0.3% to a contraction of 0.2%. After last year's contraction of 0.3%, the latest revision will mark the second straight year of recession in Germany. The ministry will announce a projected growth rate of 1.1% in 2025 and 1.6% in 2026, the report continued, noting that Economy Minister Robert Habeck was counting on tax cuts and energy subsidies to boost production and spending. German economic institutes are not convinced that these measures will work. Energy prices soared in Germany after the Ukraine conflict began in 2022, when Berlin stopped importing Russian oil and gas. Germany relied on Russia for 55% of its natural gas imports before the conflict, and with the country already phasing out its nuclear power infrastructure in favor of renewables, the shortfall caused energy prices to soar and drove up the cost of manufacturing. Dear viewers, now let's take a recap of the major headlines for tonight. President Isaias Afwerki and Abdel Fattah al-Sisi discuss on strengthening bilateral ties. President Isaias Afwerki and President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud held talks. World's rivers face its driest year in 3 decades in 2023. And Germany's economy facing new recession. That was all from us for tonight. We thank you for joining us.